Okay. Yes, once again, good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for joining today's iTrains webinar on online learning strategies with G Suite for Education. And today we are joined by Wayne Lim, who will be presenting after my brief introduction. So a reminder to those who have joined in through the Google Meet, please keep your microphones muted and your camera is switched off as well. Please do not press the button present now. And if you have any questions, so those ones who are watching through Google Meet, you can write them in the comments section, which is in the chat box on the right-hand side at the top. And those ones who are watching through Facebook Live, please write your questions to the presenter, Wayne, in the comments section. And all the questions will be sent in to Wayne, so he will be answering the questions during the webinar as well. And yes, you will have access to the recording of the webinar once you fill out the feedback form. So I have attached the feedback form link in the comments section, and we will do that in the chat box as well shortly. So after the webinar, once we upload it, then you will have the access and will be able to rewatch the webinar and yes, learn once again what Wayne taught you today. So now, before we start with the presentation by Wayne, I would like to briefly introduce you to iTrain, which is the organizing body of today's webinar. So at iTrain, we are supporting digital transformation, and we are the pioneers and leaders in tech learning in Asia. And at iTrain, we believe in two core principles: that the power of technology to shape the future and help us build a better world, and that love of learning is the source of human ingenuity and well-being. And our goal, which is backed by government and academia, is to fast-track Asian businesses with the latest technology, applications, and know-how. And these are some other courses that we are offering, which most of them are also HRDF claimable. So at the moment, we are planning to run out also online learning. So please follow us on Facebook to get the latest updates on when we will be rolling out the online learning strategies for such courses as mobile development, blockchain, data science, Internet of Things, artificial intelligence, fintech, digital marketing, and cybersecurity. So that's what we're going to roll out shortly. But still, in the meantime, yes, yeah. So you can see these are some of the clients that we have had the chance to work with and empower their businesses across many strategic sectors. And as you can see, they come from finance, technology, industry, and manufacturing. So that is it from my side. And I will give the floor to Wayne. And a quick reminder before that, yes, if you want access to the webinars, recording, please fill out the feedback form, which you can find in the comments and chat box side. And if you have any questions, please write them in the chat box and the comments section. All right, thank you very much.
Thanks, Liz. Good morning, everybody. So let me just present my screen now. All right. A very good morning to everybody on Facebook and also in this Google Meet session. So just want to make sure you guys can actually hear me well. If you can hear me well, just give me a yes.
I will also say that yes, we can hear and see your presentation quite well.
Okay, that's cool. So let's get started. So first of all, I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Wayne, and I'm a Google certified trainer and Google certified educator, which is why today I'm here to show you some of the tips and tricks of using G Suite for education for online learning. So, which it's actually rather important, especially during this MCO session. And also, like, just a couple days ago, we received the news saying that the EMCO, is actually being extended, like, to another 4 more weeks. So, which I believe that is why you guys actually here to learn more about how to use Juicy for education in a better way. So, first of all, so the CEO of Google actually says that technology alone will not improve education, but it can be a powerful part of solution. So, which I totally agree because, um, as you can see, nowadays we have a lot of technologies that we are using in our life. Like, for example, we have uh, the most basic one is basically our smartphone. We use it every single day. So basically, that's like the first thing integrated into the education. So, for example, like just a few days ago, I saw some of the articles and so I saw a couple of news saying that the parents they actually complain about like having the kids learning on the internet or learning through like Google Meet or Google Classroom at home that they do not know how to manage it because they know how to use the technology, but they do not know how to integrate it together with education. So, which can be like a problem. But if you know how to actually use it well, it can actually make your education, it can actually make your teaching really powerful. So which is why we're having this session today to show you what are the things that you can do. And the aim of Google is basically to help educators to make a greater impact in the teaching, in the daily teaching. So we have the tools for collaboration, communication, and creativity. So, Google for Education gives teacher the freedom to spend more time to personalize the learning experience and less time managing it. So, I believe like most of you here who actually joined today, you have actually experienced something like this before. So it's like you have a lot of great and wow ideas of implementing technology into your daily teaching. But the thing is, you do not have time to manage it, to manage your students, to actually know more about your student, to even like put more effort into it. So, which is why you're here, I believe. Okay. And also, by using Juicer for Education, student can basically learn the 21st century problem solving skills so that they can actually implement it into their future careers. So first of all, we're going to take a look at how can G Suite for Education to support online learning. So after we have a look at this, I'm going to show you a few tools today, like how can you actually use it in a better way. So first of all, we have a group of collaboration tools in Juicer for Education. We're just gonna go through briefly. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask me. So the first one you can see here is basically Google Docs. So it's a obviously is a document platform that allows you to create documents. So we have Google Sheets. This is like a spreadsheet that allows you to analyze, visualize, and also charting some of the data that you collect, okay, from anyone. It could be like um, some survey you collected from the students or something that you have actually some data that you have actually collected from your fellow colleagues, and you can basically put it into Google Sheets and analyze it and visualizing it. And the next thing we can see here, we have Google Forms. So basically, it's an electronic form that allows you to create quiz and also to send out survey. Okay, and then we have Google Slides, which is the presentation tool that I'm currently using now. And Google Drawings, it's basically a platform that allows you to create like some basic um, graphics. Okay, and also Google Drive, and obviously this is like a cloud drive. Okay, allow you to save things such as like your dog, your Google Slides, and even sometimes like let's say you have some video to share with your student, you can actually save it in your Google Drive and share it through Google Classroom. So the next thing we see here, we have a group of tools that allow you to increase your student engagement in the classroom. So which is like Gmail. okay? For communication, Google Calendar, Google Meet, okay? Or sometimes we call it as Google Hangouts. So very soon, um, Google is gonna be combined both Google Hangouts and Google Meet together into one, and what you're gonna use for the future for your video conferencing is gonna be called as Google Meet. All right. And then the next thing we have Google Sites. So basically, Google Sites is a platform for you to create like a quick website. So this can be very useful for your student to actually create some sort of like e-portfolio for them to show it to other people. And of course, we have Google Groups, which allow group communication such as web forum, and also Google Classroom that basically help you to manage your learning in the classroom. So now I'm gonna basically share with you and I'm going to discuss with you what are the differences in between like the traditional group work or assignment and the group work with G Suite for Education. So, and this basically this solution can be applied on it could be university or sometimes like let's say if you actually even use it like in the kindergarten. So there's no harm for you to actually apply the solution into your teaching. Okay, so first of all, if you look at the left hand side of on the screen, basically you can see traditional group work. So what happened here is that normally the documents are um, duplicated. Okay, why? Because when we tell our student to create some sort of like group assignment, normally they would actually create different copies and then um, they're combining together, but it always like ends up with duplication of your assignments, so which can be a drawback, and also sometimes your student might actually miss out some of the information that's shared by other group members. So and the next point we get to see here is basically distant discussion often like done through group chat such as WhatsApp. So I'm pretty sure you guys are very familiar with this. So whenever like you feel like having a discussion, somebody will actually create like a group chat in your WhatsApp. So and ended up usually you will have like a lot of group chats and you do not know where to actually track your information, so which will actually cause like misunderstanding and miscommunication. So and this can be really bad when it comes to like group work or assignment among your students, because um, when they fail to track the information, or when they fail to track the references of the sources of the information that they actually got it from the internet, right? So you will need to actually know where did they get the information from. So normally when they are actually in a traditional group work, they would not be able to list out the references easily, because they do not have a right to use it. So let's take a look at what will happen if you use G Suite for Education, okay, to um, create some of the group assignments. So the first point here we say is that individual can basically contribute their ideas into a single Google Keep note. Okay, may I know like how many of you here haven't heard of Google Keep before? So it'll be interesting to know, like, if any one of you here haven't actually heard of Google Keep. So basically, Google Keep, it's a notepad. Okay, it's just like your like iOS notepad that allows you to list down some of your idea or some of the note, or sometimes you just want to like create like a quick checklist. Okay, you can actually use Google Keep. So which I will show it to you later on. And then we after you actually contribute the idea into Google Keep, basically you can transform it directly into Google Docs. So this is the interesting part. Okay, basically there is a button within Google Keep itself for you to click and convert your notepad into a document. So this is pretty cool. Okay, and don't not to worry, I will actually show it to you later on, and you can follow my steps to see how can you actually use it later on. And also like instead of using WhatsApp over here, basically you can use Google Hangouts Meet to actually discuss. Okay, it's just like what I'm doing here today to basically present my screen to you to allow you to see my screen. So this will actually create a more efficient way of communication when it comes to like group discussion. So everybody can present their own screen with their own ideas through Google Hangouts Meet, and um, of course use Google Slides to present the idea. Okay, and the next thing is gonna be Google Docs. So basically students, they can do the research work within the Google Docs itself by using the Explorer feature. Okay, and they can straight away cite all the references into the Google Docs. Okay, so as you can see, when we are putting like both a traditional and also G Suite for Education group work side by side to compare, you can see there's a huge advantage um, for us to use G Suite for Education. So right now, I'm gonna show you guys some live demo on how to actually do those steps. Okay. So if I'm going too fast, please let me know. So far, do you guys have any question? Okay, let me take a look. There's no question. Okay, that's good.
Yeah. Quickly on the questions on Facebook will be a bit later in. So yeah, if
Okay,
there appears any question in the Facebook, I will copy it to the Google Meet for you.
thank you. No problem. All right. So first of all, okay, we talked about Google Keep earlier, right? So we talk about like idea discussing. We talk about sharing of idea. We talk about noting down of ideas. So for example, okay, today, um, assuming that I'm actually having a conference call, like a group discussion, a virtual group discussion as a student with you guys. Okay, so you guys are my group members. So I'm gonna note down anything that we have discussed. So what I can do is I go to keep.google.com in order for me to open up this notepad here, or alternatively, you can actually go to this Google Apps button, which you can find in most of the pages of your app. So, for example, if you're in a Gmail, you can actually always go to the top right, that you get to see a Google Apps button. You can actually click and find all the available apps over here. Okay, so and as you scroll down, you'll be able to find your Google Keep over here. So sometimes in certain domain, you might not actually find your Google Keep app over here, but not to worry. Okay, you can just type in keep.google.com in order for you to find this app. So once you go into this notepad platform, so this is basically what you can see on the left hand side. You get to see like there are notes, reminders, labels, archive, and also trash. Okay, it's very straightforward. So right now we're going to create some of the list. Okay, for example, we have discussed about things to do, okay, to keep safe during this like pandemic or the coronavirus period. So I'm going to just put some notes here. Okay. Okay, do not touch your face, etc. Okay, for example, I have some notes over here. Okay, and after that, I'm going to just create title. Okay, there's a title there, and I have my list of things here. And before I convert it into my Google Docs, so this is what I'm gonna explain to you. So there you can see there are a few buttons over here, right? So we have remind me. So basically you can create a reminder. So let's say you have like a list of things you would like to get reminded after this. Okay, for you to do, you can actually create a reminder. So what you can do is you can set a date and you can set a time, and of course you can even include a location. Let's say if you want to remind yourself to uh, pick something up, okay, or you want to remind yourself to actually do some shopping for things, so you can actually uh, include like a place over here. So, and then you can actually add collaborator. So this can be very handy when it comes to group discussions. So we want to make sure like everybody's on the same page. We are actually noting down like the same notes. We are knowing the same knowledge. So we can actually add collaborator. We can actually add our group member into this note for them to actually put in all the ideas here as well. So everybody is sharing the same piece of note. So by talking about this, I will actually share a tips, like a situation with you. I'll actually discuss with you. So which I think you will feel very familiar. So sometimes we go into a meeting. So for example, there are 5 members in the meeting, but at the end of a meeting, we always get like different things from the meeting. So this could be useful, okay, to actually solve that problem. So you can actually share it with your group member before you go into a meeting, and everybody will be actually noting down on the same piece of notepad, okay. And then of course you can change the color, and you can add a picture here into your notepad as well. Sorry. Okay, so you can take a picture if you have the Google Keep app on your phone, or alternatively if you're using computer, you can actually add an image directly from a computer, and of course you can archive it if you don't need it anymore. So the next thing we're going to look at is we want to copy it to Google Docs. Okay, you can just hit on this button, and you have to wait for like a few seconds while Google Keep is actually copying all your note into a Google Docs. Okay, once it's been copied, you can see there is an open doc button over there. So you can open a Google Doc with your title and your notes over here. So this can be very handy because you do not have to recopy all the notes, and you can straight away do some editings over here. Okay. So when it comes to Google Docs, so what can you do? So first of all, when it comes to group assignment, you will have to make sure that it's being shared to other people, okay, before you start doing the editing, because we want to make sure everybody can be actually editing on the same piece of document. So by hitting the share button, you can type in the email address over here in order for you to share with your group member. All right. So before you share with your group member, there is a permission button over here that you need to know. Okay. So when you click on it, you can see there are 3 different types of permission that you can give it to your group members. So if you want them to contribute their idea into the Google Doc, you can actually allow them to edit. Okay. Or sometimes we might not actually want our group member to write anything on our Google Doc. So this is what we can do. We can set it as comment. So we allow them to comment on our work, okay? But we do not allow them to basically do any editing on our document. So, and of course, you can even set it as view only. So which means you just want to share this piece of document to your group member as a reference. You do not want them to do any sort of editing. Okay, so this can be very, very useful when you want to share like some document with your student, but you do not want them to edit your document. So you can just allow them to view. Okay, and of course you can actually add a note here to notify them. Okay, just say, hey, y'all, so this is our group discussion document, and there is a notify button here that you can check or uncheck in order for you to notify, or if you choose not to notify people, you can just uncheck this box. So when you check this box, basically when you hit send, everybody will be receiving a copy of email to say that, to actually tell them that, you have actually invite them to do some editing in a document. Okay, So in this case, I'm not gonna share. And of course, like before that, okay, before we close this window, there's also another very useful thing that I'd like to share with you, which is the shareable link. Okay, sometimes I believe you might want to actually share this document within an email. Okay, so you can actually get a link over here. So which is gonna be a link for your document that you can actually copy the link and paste it to anywhere you'd like to share with the people. Okay, and of course here you can actually change the permission as well. Okay, by default the link, people who actually gets the link, they'll be able to view only. Okay, and by default those people who can actually access your document with the link, it's gonna be within your domain only. Okay, when I say the domain here means in your email address, I'm pretty sure you can see, like, for example, Wayne at schoolA.com.mine. Okay, that's the schoolA.com.mine is gonna be your domain. So when you see here anyone at itrain.com.mine with the link can view, it means people within my domain, people who actually use the email address with itrain.com.mine can view my document, and anyone who doesn't have this email address, they would not be able to view my document. Okay, if you want to allow people, if you want to allow like the public, for example, as a school teacher, as a lecturer, I'm pretty sure sometimes you will need to share certain document to the public or to the parents, right? So you can actually change the permission over here. Okay, and just go to more, and you can actually switch it to anyone with the link. So which means there would not actually require any sort of sign in. So for them to view the document. Okay, but be aware and do keep in mind that if you select this function, this feature, sorry, this option over here, people, anyone, they can just access to your document. Okay, so do keep in mind about that. So this is Google Doc. Okay, so far, do you guys have any question? So because I cannot see the Facebook comment, so Liz, it'd be great if you can actually share with me if there is any question.
Yeah, there are no questions so
Okay,
far.
cool. All right, so the next thing I'm going to share with you is some of the very good to know information for you guys. So, for information like from now onwards to the 30th of September this year, Google is actually opening up the premium feature of Google Meet to allow everybody to use the premium feature. So, what are the premium feature here? Okay, the premium feature here is basically, for example, I'm pretty sure when you go through a like, for example, online learning class, so or virtual classroom, so you have like some virtual lesson with your students during this MCO. So you like to record your session, right? So this premium feature is actually available for you, okay, without having to pay for anything, without any payment. So it's actually available for you for free. You can actually use the record feature to record your virtual lesson and reshare it with your student afterwards. Okay, and also you'll be able to host a virtual classroom with up to 250 people within your class. Okay, to allow them to interact with your class in your classroom. So I get to see a question here. Um, do the children need to create Gmail accounts? Can any other email use it? Okay, so that's a very good question. So I just want to share with you, for children or for kids who are below 13, they would not be allowed to actually create a Gmail account. Okay, due to the age problem. Okay, so in this case, so probably the parents, they will have to actually create an account and to agree on the terms and conditions, and before allowing the kids to actually use the Gmail account. But of course, like for any schools, who are actually using G Suite for Education domain, so they will actually have the limited so-called like the education domain for the kids to use. So which it would not actually require the kids to create a Gmail account themselves. Okay, so you just have to check with the school to see if the school is actually providing any account to the students. Okay, and to answer your question, can any other email use um, this feature? So let's say if you're using Hotmail, for example, or Yahoo Mail, but you have actually registered your Yahoo Mail or Hotmail on Gmail, you'll be able to use this feature. Okay, if you're using like the Hotmail that is actually registered on Microsoft, you will not be able to use this feature. Okay, I hope this has actually answered your question. All right. So the next thing we're gonna look at is basically a little bit more about Google Hangout Meet. Okay. So I'm gonna show you like some ways of how do you set up like a Google Hangout Meet session. So whether it's for virtual classroom or whether it's for discussion, so that you'll be able to actually share it with your student when they want to actually discuss like some ideas for the group assignment during this MCO session. So a lot of people, they know there is such a function, but they do not know how to use it. So the first way you can do it is basically go to your calendar. Okay, when you go to your calendar, you'll be able to see like this view. Okay, like the full monthly view of your calendar, like what's happening during the month. Okay, if you're not able to see it, you can actually always switch it on the top right over here to change the view to month. I believe by default some people, they'll be able to see like the day view. Okay, so which you can actually switch it here and switch it to month. So for example, right now, just assuming that I'm going to set up like a virtual class, okay, for my student on this Wednesday. So um, I'm gonna click on the date here, and I'm gonna set a title for this class. Okay, so the next thing I'm gonna do is to add a time for the class so that so my student is actually aware of the time of the class. So I'm gonna set it as 1 p.m. Okay, and by default, the class will actually go for an hour, so you can always change it. So here, there are a few ways for you to invite your students. So the first way is basically you can actually, if you have the group email of your student, you can actually type your student group email here to invite them, or you can actually create a video conferencing call and share the link with them. Okay, and of course at the same time you can also create a link within your Google Classroom itself if you're using Google Classroom in order for you to invite them to join into the class. But in this case today, we're just gonna focus on Google Calendar. Okay, so once you have actually set a link over here, you will be able to see like you'll be able to host like up to 250 participants. Okay, and you can always add description like to let your student know, so how is this class gonna be, so what you're gonna cover, so for example, okay, or even your syllables. So once it's done, you can always click save, and you'll be able to see like there is a link over here that's an appointment set, so 1 p.m. virtual class. So right now, if you haven't already like invited your student into this class, you can always click on here and copy the link. Okay, join video conference here, so you copy the link and you can send it via email, or um, if you are using like Google Classroom, you can always post it on your stream as like an announcement. Okay, so once they have gotten the link, so assuming that it's the day of um, you hosting the virtual class, so they'll be going into the um, so-called video conferencing room. So once they head into it, so this is gonna be what they can see. Okay, there are a few updates here I would like to share to you guys, and I would like to share with you guys that it could be useful for you. Okay, so first of all, before we look at the updates, so if you look at the left hand side, you can see this is basically what you can see on your webcam. So this is also what other people, your student can see you on your camera. Okay, and under your camera button, there are two buttons here. So the left one is basically the microphone, and the right one is your camera. So you can always switch them off before joining into your classroom. Okay, so usually I would recommend teachers or anyone to actually mute the microphone and to turn off the camera before joining into a session, because you never know if you might be actually interrupting the session or not. Okay, so to be safe, you can always mute it, and you can also unmute it later on. So, and of course, on the right hand side you have join now button and a present button. So people always get confused here. So if you hit join now, so basically you join into the session without presenting. But if you hit a present button, it means you will be straight presenting your screen into the session. So, which you could be actually interrupting the classroom or interrupting the session. Like for example, I have actually experienced this before, which like someone actually started presenting their screen while I was actually having a webinar, so it actually interrupted the webinar. So I would recommend you to join into the call by hitting the join now button, unless okay you are sure that you will not be interrupting the session, or in this case, like you are a teacher, so you have to present, so you can always hit the present button. Okay, and before we go into a session, so I'd like to show you the more option part. So when you click on this three dot button, so you get to see more settings. So you can always turn on the caption. So let's say sometimes your student might not actually hear you well. Okay, you can turn on the caption, so when you speak they will be able to see the captions or the subtitle of whatever that we have said in the session. Okay, and then you have settings here. So when you hit on settings, obviously you can actually find like microphone setting and also speaker. Over here you get to choose the microphone that you would like to use, and the speakers like you would like to hear of the output that your student actually say something, you can actually hear them. Okay, so it's always recommended for you to actually put on the headphone to avoid any sort of like echo in the session, because it can be really annoying. um, and also you have the video setting here. So here's where you get to choose a camera if you have like an external camera being connected to your laptop, or you can actually choose to use the default one. And also you get to adjust the resolution here if you having like so-called the limitation of your bandwidth, because I do know that sometimes some teachers or some students, they might be actually using their mobile devices to attend the class, so which might actually use their phone data, and it could be actually burning a lot of data. So you'd like to reduce the usage of the bandwidth. Okay, you can actually adjust it to the standard definition instead of the HD. Okay, which might actually use more of the bandwidth. Or sometimes you might be actually experiencing some of the slow bandwidth. So especially like during this MCO period, sometimes I've actually heard like some people complaining to me that, hey, I'm actually experiencing some of the lagging on my video or the audio, that I'm not able to hear the other people within the call, or people are not able to hear me. So you can always adjust the resolution here to reduce the usage of the bandwidth, so that they would be able to see and hear you with a minimum quality of the call, and audio, but not the best, but at least they can still hear you and see you. And of course, the same thing here for receive resolution. So I do understand that sometimes as a teacher, it might be actually hard for you, okay, by like seeing like a lot of students on your screen. So you might want to actually uh, just receive the audio, so you can always choose like audio only, so you can hear your student only, okay. Or you like to see your student but only one video at a time. So for example, the video of the student will only show when they start talking, okay. So this can also, by adjusting the resolution, will also like reduce the usage of the bandwidth to ensure the smoothness of your call, okay. So once everything is ready, you can always hit done and join into the call street. So after joining into the call, there are a few things here I would like to share to you. So which is actually the update. So for example, if you hit on the bottom right, the option button here, you'll be able to see a record meeting. Okay, this is what I mentioned earlier. So when you hit on this button, basically you can record the entire session and it will be automatically saved into your Google Drive after the call is done, after your virtual class is finished, so that you can actually always like rewatch it or share it with your student. If any one of them actually miss out your lesson, or they would like to actually revise again, they can always rewatch the session. So you can always hit this button to record the meeting. Of course, once you hit a button, you will be prompted to accept like the terms, okay, like a message here saying that telling you recording a meeting without consent is actually illegal. So do make sure that your students or your participants actually um, aware that you're recording the session. So you have to hit accept in order for you to record the session. So once you hit on accept, so you will see on the top left here, there is a loading message, okay, like a gray button over here saying that recording. Okay, once it switched to red, means that the session is being recorded. All right, so it's recording now. Okay, so I noticed there's a question from Ivy Low over here. So while I'm having a presentation, if my bandwidth drop, is there anything I can do? Okay, of course. Okay, you can still always adjust the resolution of your call. Okay, so let's say right now I'm actually having a problem now. So you're having difficulty in hearing me. I can always go back to the settings here and readjust my setting. Okay, so it's already standard definition, and of course I can always readjust. So let's say if I think that my connection has become better, I would like to show in HD video, I can always readjust it and hit done, and everything will be readjusted. All right, so yeah, this session is being recorded, as you can see here. And of course, like, there's another thing which is also a new update, which has just been released in the past couple weeks, which is the layout. So I'm pretty sure a lot of you who have actually used Zoom before, um, you would actually love like the tile view, okay, of the call, where which you get to see people like other people's video in the tile mode. So previously, you would not be able to do that in Google Hangouts, but right now, after a new update, you'll be able to change the layout. So there are a few layouts here you can actually change. So the first one is basically auto. So you allow um, Google Hangouts or Google Meet to automatically switch the video on your screen. So when people are actually talking within the call, okay, or you have the sidebar view. So which the main person who is actually talking will be showing as the main video, and you have the rest of the people on the right hand side of the screen, and you have the spotlight, so which you get to see like only one video at a time, and of course the tout. Okay, so personally I really love the new update of the tout view, because you get to see everyone eating within the meeting. So especially when you're in a class, so this can be really useful, and in a way it can be really interactive when you get to see everybody. Okay. um and also, like, other things you can do here, we have like full screen, you can turn on a caption. Okay, use a phone for audio. So this is the interesting one. So when you click on this feature, I would say right now this feature is kind of like it's available but not available in our country. So you can actually use it in other countries such as like Thailand or United States, but it's currently not available in Malaysia yet. So basically you'll be able to join into the call with your phone with standard charges applied, but you will not be able to do it in Malaysia at the moment. Okay, so this is probably like a good to know feature, but you are not able to use it yet. Okay, so basically, just to share with you how people can do it is that they can always dial this number to join into this call if they're not able to join the conference call. Okay, and then they just have to enter the pin over here. All right. So, okay, let's see. I actually see some of the question here. Is it best to on the video button all the time for my students to use while attending the class? Okay, this is a question from Facebook. Okay, um, so I'm assuming that you're asking about like, is it actually best to turn on this video button, right? So it's basically up to you. So whether you want to actually allow your student to see you, or you want to allow your student to just listen to you. So for me, normally I would prefer to show my face on a conferencing call, or whether it's like a webinar or um, virtual class, because like this, I think the best way of interaction is still face to face. But meanwhile, during this MCO session, we are not able to meet face to face, right? Or at this period of time, we might be able to meet each other with by keeping the social distancing, but it's still not as great. So in order to do it in the best way, at the same time in the safest way, you can always like turn on a video while you get to see each other, you get to talk, but you are still being in a safe situation where you don't have to expose yourself out there to the viruses. Okay. Um, how do I remove someone from the room? Okay, that's a very good question. So, in order for you to remove someone from the room, you have to click on, okay, the people button over here. Okay, before that, I'll have to actually invite somebody to join into my call. So let me just invite somebody join in. Oh, I can just toggle my screen. Okay. All right. So in order for you to remove somebody from the room, okay, this is what you can do. When you click on the people button on the top right here, okay, you get to see a list of people within your room itself. So what you can do is, like, for example, you click on the name and there is a button here. Okay, you have to be the host in order for you to be able to remove somebody in the room. Okay, this is also like the new updates for everybody, because previously a lot of people actually complained that like the student, okay, actually remove other student within the room. So right now, if you are not the host, you will not be able to remove anyone. Okay, you will not be able to remove anyone from the room. And also, you will not be able to unmute somebody, because this is due to like some of the privacy issue. So just in case the other person is actually on a phone call, or something else. So you will not be able to unmute them, but you'll be able to mute somebody, okay, within the call. All right. So, and also you'll be actually seeing like there is a pin to screen button. So this can be very useful when you want to just keep watching somebody, or you just want to look at like one of the screen. For example, I would like to see um, my presentation screen, or I want to see someone's presentation screen on my screen constantly. So I can always pin the screen, okay, on my screen so that it stays there, it doesn't change. All right. So let's just switch back. Okay. So another thing I'd like to share to you is that this is really useful for online teaching. So which is like video playing. So I'm pretty sure like previously you guys might be actually trying to play some video within the call, but um, your participants will be able to watch your video via like you presenting the screen, but they will not be able to hear the sound, okay? But in this case, there's a new update over here when you hit on present now, but don't do it now, okay? Because you might actually overtake my screen. So if you hit on present now button later on, so you'll be able to see a Chrome tab over here. So when you are presenting a Chrome tab, you'll be able to play video or animation with very clear um, audio, okay, with the sound. So this can be very useful when it comes to like distant learning or online learning. At the same time, you would like to show some video and play some video in a virtual call, okay? And of course, like before that, you have to make sure that um, you're having tab that is open. Okay, for example, I'm going to YouTube, just gonna search for video. So, for example, you have actually preloaded um, a video, okay? So right now you would not be able to hear anything that I'm actually playing for you. So what I can do here is that I can hit on present now and choose a Chrome tab, okay? And then I can go to my YouTube tab over here. And there is a button here, share audio. So I can, by default, it's actually checked. So I just want to keep it this way and I hit share. So right now I can just play the video. Okay, so once I play the video, you guys will be able to hear the video. Okay, so let's just go back and start presenting. Okay, let me check. I noticed there are more questions over here. Is there a whiteboard feature where the viewer and presenter um, okay, for the whiteboard feature, there are a few ways you can actually do it. The first way is that you can always go to um, like the Chrome Web Store to download. There is an extension called Whiteboard. Whiteboard for Google Meet. Of course, this is a third-party extension that you can always download it and you can use it within your Hangout call. But this is not the best way that I would recommend. So there is another way which I'm actually which is actually more my preferred way is to go to your Google Apps and go to Jamboard. Okay, Jamboard is basically very useful when it comes to like interaction, like we so-called whiteboard interaction. So Jamboard basically works as a virtual whiteboard, so allows you to interact with your students or anyone within the session. So what you can do is that you can create a Jamboard. It's just gonna work as a whiteboard that you can write something, you can draw something on the board here. Okay, and if you want to actually allow other people to draw on your Jamboard as well, you can always hit on the share button over here, and you just share um, with your colleague or share with your group member to allow them to actually interact with you as well. Okay, is is there a way to take attendance for students that take part in classes automatically? Okay, this in this case, for taking the attendance, I have actually downloaded and I'm actually using an extension called Meet Attendance. So of course, this is not the official extension that released by Google. It's a third-party extension that you can actually find on Chrome Web Store. Okay, you can always go to the Chrome Web Store by hitting this button over here and go to more tools. Okay, and you can check your extensions whether you have it or not um, in this page. Okay, if you do not have it, you can always go to your Chrome Web Store. Okay, and just go and look for Meet Attendance. So you'll be able to collect the attendance into a Google Sheets to record your student attendance in your virtual class. But just to mention again, this is not the official extension from Google, but it's a third party that created by one of the people in the Chrome Web Store. Okay, but it's pretty useful at the moment, and a lot of teachers are actually using it. And personally, I'm actually using it as well. So let's see if there is any other question. All right, so guys, that's pretty much that we have actually covered most of the things that we would like to cover for today. I'm just wondering, like, if you guys still have any more questions, and please feel free to ask. Okay, and in the meanwhile, do also share with us like what are the other topics that you would like to know, you would like to learn for the future, so that we can actually plan out for you guys. So So from Ivy Low, I've actually missed out a question. Let me take a look. Where is the question? Mm, okay. I'm sorry. I'm not able to see your previous question. If it would be great if you can actually share it again with me. Okay. So
I can read the question for you.
yes,
So,
please.
Weneth is asking, what are the merits of Google Meet compared to other video conferencing apps such as Zoom?
Okay, so that's a very good question, and there is always like I would say there's always an argument um, like everywhere, like on the internet, about like, hey, I'm using Zoom, I think it's better, and I'm using Google Hangouts, I think it's better. So first of all, is like when you talk about recording your virtual class session, basically you'll be able to record it, and I know that Zoom can actually allow you to actually record your session as well, but this is basically being saved directly into your Google Drive. Okay, which is actually being encrypted in a very high security encryption, that you do not have to worry about the security problem, which it was a big concern by a lot of parties previously in the past few weeks. I'm pretty sure like a lot of people actually um, actually concerned about it, that Zoom actually released a news saying that the data of the users being leaked out, okay, to the public. So and while you're using Google Hangouts, you do not have to worry about that, because when it comes to online learning, this can be actually a big issue because it involves like the kids and the student. I'm pretty sure like the parents, they do not want the identity, also the information of the students being exposed out there to the public. Okay, that's the first thing about the security. We have very high level of we have very high level of security and encryption that allows student and teachers to use it in a very safe environment. And also like the recording of your session can be actually saved directly into your Google Drive, that you can actually share it directly into your Google Classroom. And also another advantage is that you can always like straight away jump into a virtual class within your Google Classroom, which is a huge plus point, okay, when it comes to having a class on the internet. Okay, and also okay, let's see, there's another question, like, just to recap, okay, the Google Premium is free until when? So it's until the 30th of September. Okay, so all this feature that we mentioned earlier, like the recording, and also to be able to host up to 250 people within your call, basically it's all free for now. So usually you guys have to pay for it, but like speaking of this, like when we talk about like MCO period or isolation, Google is actually offering to everybody that you'll be able to use all this premium feature for free, okay, until the 30th of September. And hopefully, uh, like even before the 30th of September, we will be actually out of the lockdown and everything will be back to the normal very soon. Okay, so is
Let's
there any more question? Sorry, did I hear something?
I just said let's hope so that it's over by then.
Yeah. Okay. So if there's no any other question, I will actually get back the time to Liz. So over to you. And if you have anything to say, if you have anything to actually share with them regarding like the future webinars, or if you need them to give any feedback, yeah, feel free.
Yes, so thank you everybody who joined in today. And yeah, as you can see on the presentation, you can fill out the feedback form. And let me share it in full screen.
All right.
You can fill out the feedback form that you received the recording of the webinar. And if you have any questions for iTrain, and yeah, there's a quick question in the chat on Facebook. What is the difference between Google Meet and Google Classroom? But that's
Okay, I can answer that. And also, I noticed there are a few more questions over here. So basically, I'll make sure I answer all the questions before we end our session today. And of course, like not to worry, after this, we'll be actually having this session being uploaded to our YouTube page and also our Facebook. And you guys can always go back and take a look. So first of all, the first question, what's the difference in between Google Classroom and Google Meet? Google Classroom is basically a platform for you to manage learning. So, for example, you'll be able to assign assignment on your Google Classroom. You'll be able to receive, okay, the work that's submitted by your student via Google Classroom. And of course, you can even do more by making some announcement on your Google Classroom. But for Google Meet, it's basically a video conferencing tool for you to jump into a call. Okay, and there is another question from Ivy here. Can we have a co-host? So I'm assuming that you're talking about like having a session that with hosting it with other people. So I would actually recommend you to invite doing this by inviting other people into the call. Okay, just like what we are doing today for this webinar, so that everybody will be able to present and also to talk, to share their ideas within the call, within the call itself. Okay, so is there, and another question, is there a special package for a school? So may I know what do you mean by a special package over here? So usually for school, you'll be able to use like Google Meet for free already. So, but of course, like without the premium feature. Okay, so because G Suite for Education, G Suite for Education is already free for school. So as long as your school is actually using G Suite for Education domain, you'll be able to use Google Meet. Okay. So I'm just wondering, Liz, um, is there any more question from Facebook?
No, on Facebook there are no more
Okay,
questions.
that's pretty cool. Okay, how do we get a G Suite for Education domain for schools? So basically, you can always head over to G Suite for Education page on Google and just click on register, and you'll be actually guided with the steps in the page itself. Okay, and before that, you just have to check with your school IT department to make sure that you guys, whether you guys are already on G Suite for Education domain or it's just a normal domain. So let's say if you guys are on a G Suite for Enterprise domain, you can always like convert it, or you can always register on G Suite for Education domain as well. But of course, with terms and conditions. Okay. So if there is no other questions, I think.
What I that the person is in G Suite for Education, but he can't see Jamboard.
Okay, the person is on G Suite, but he cannot see Jamboard. Okay, that's um, that's okay, because sometimes some of the app they might not be showing within your Google Apps over here, the button over here. So, but what you can do is that you can always, okay, go to like Google and just Google Jamboard. You will still be able to access to it. Okay, because due to like certain settings within the domain, so some of the app might not be visible to you in your Google Apps button over here. Okay, in your account, so you can always head over to Google and just go Jamboard. You'll be able to see, you'll be able to access to the platform. Okay, can other private learning um, enrichment center and joint G Suite for Education not under MOE? So I have actually came across some of the tuition centers or some of the learning centers that they have uh, applied for GSUIT for education for free successfully uh, by providing some of the educational document. But of course, like for this part, may not be the best position to advise you. So the best way for you to do it or to get to know it is to contact the Google team directly by heading into G Suite for Education page and hit on the registration button, and then you can actually fill in your particulars of your learning center and also to provide some of the necessary information to Google, and the team will actually get back to you to see what are the documents actually needed for your application. So normally it would take like a week or two business days, so in order for them to process your application, and after that you'll be actually receiving an email to see whether you are um, eligible for you're eligible to actually own the GSUIT for Education domain. Okay. Okay, if there's no more question, I guess this will be the end of our session today. Thank you very much, everybody, for attending this session. Stay safe, everybody, and looking forward to um, see you guys on another webinars again.